Welcome, everyone. Today we're getting into the life of Antonio Vivaldi. And this isn't just about a famous composer.
No, not at all.
We're talking about a world-class musician, a violin superstar who was also somehow a Catholic priest.
It's a huge contradiction.
Right.
And his music is everywhere today. You can't escape it. But the actual story of his life, his incredible rise, and then his complete disappearance for 200 years it's often missed.
So that's our goal, to figure out how he did it, how he redefined music, and why he was forgotten.
Exactly.
Okay, so let's set the scene. He was born March 4, 1674, in Venice.
And you can't overstate how important Venice was back then. It was a global hub for culture, for art, and especially for music.
His father was already plugged into that scene.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
His dad was a professional violinist at St. Mark's Basilica,
The most famous church in the city.
the very center of Venetian musical life. So Antonio had the best possible training right from the start. He was a prodigy, no question about it.
But he had this major obstacle almost from birth, a health condition,
Yes, a lifelong issue he called tightness of the chest.
which we're pretty sure today was asthma.
Almost certainly. And it's a huge piece of his story because it shaped his entire career. He couldn't play wind instruments, for instance.
Right. Not enough breath.
And critically, he couldn't exert himself for long periods. That becomes really important in a minute.
Yeah.
It basically forced him to focus everything on the violin and, maybe more importantly, on composing.
So even with this intense focus on music, he still joins the priesthood. He starts training at 15.
Well, it was a practical path. The church offered stability and education.
And he's ordained in 1703. He's 29.
Right. And he immediately gets a nickname that sticks with him forever because of his bright red hair.
The Red Priest?
It was Prito Rosso. But what's fascinating is how quickly that career path hits a wall.
Because of the asthma.
Exactly.
Yeah.
He couldn't stand for the entire duration of a mass and project his voice. It was just too physically demanding.
So he just stops.
Pretty much immediately. He stopped saying mass less than a year after he was ordained. But, and this is key, he didn't leave the priesthood. He was still a clergyman,
So he had the title, but not the day-to-day duties.
which gave him a kind of freedom. He channeled all that energy into music, and this public image was born. The Red Priest, who was also a touring violin master.
And that unique identity leads him straight to his next job, the place that would define the next 30 years of his life.
The Ospedale della Pieta.
Tell us about this place. It wasn't just any school.
Not even close. On the surface, it was a home for orphaned or abandoned girls. But in reality, it was one of the finest music conservatories in all of Europe.
Wow. So these girls were getting an incredible education.
A world-class one. And Vivaldi gets hired there in 1703 as the violin master. Think about what that means for him.
He has a steady job.
A steady job, a good income, and an orchestra. He had a captive ensemble of incredibly talented young women who could practice his most difficult new music all day, every day.
It was his personal musical laboratory.
That's the perfect way to put it. He could experiment with any new idea, knowing he had musicians who could actually play it. The orchestra became famous all over Europe.
People would travel just to hear them.
Yes, visitors flocked to the Ospedale. They'd often listen from behind a screen or a grill because they weren't supposed to see the girls.
Just hear this incredible sound coming from them.
For more than 30 years, that was his creative engine.
And what came out of that laboratory really shaped the sound of the whole Baroque era.
It did. His music is just, it's so energetic, the rhythm is clear, it's easy to follow, and it's full of drama.
Let's talk about that drama. A big part of it was his use of loud and quiet, right?
Yes, what music historians call terrace dynamics.
And that's basically just switching between volumes really suddenly.
Exactly. Think of it less like a dimmer switch where you fade the light up and down,
Yeah.
and more like a light switch.
Wow.
Off, loud, then suddenly quiet. There's a huge break from the smoother, more flowing music that came before. It gave everything a theatrical punch.
And he structured this drama inside a specific musical form, the concerto. He basically perfected the three-part model: fast, slow, fast.
He cemented that structure, but he also perfected what happens inside the structure. He established this pattern of the full orchestra playing a main theme.
The ritornello.
Right. And then the solo violin breaks away with these flashy, difficult parts before the whole orchestra comes back in with that main theme again.
So it's like a conversation between the soloist and the group.
A perfect description. And we know for a fact that this structure influenced other composers, major ones.
You're talking about Bach.
Johann Sebastian Bach. He got his hands on Vivaldi's published concertos, and he didn't just read them, he rewrote them.
He transcribed them for other instruments.
Yes, he took Vivaldi's violin concertos and rearranged them for the keyboard, for the organ or harpsichord. It was like a masterclass. Bach was learning structural lessons directly from Vivaldi's work.
That's incredible. It shows Vivaldi's influence wasn't just local, it was spreading across Europe and changing how the greats composed.
And all of that innovation, all that experimentation, it all comes together in his most famous work.
The Four Seasons.
Probably the most famous set of concertos ever. It's the ultimate example of something we call program music.
Meaning music that tells a story?
Or paints a picture. And Vivaldi made sure you knew exactly what picture he was painting. He actually published the music with poems that described everything.
So he gives you a guide to what you're hearing.
He does. In spring, you hear the violins literally imitating birds chirping.
And the sound of a flowing brook. It's so clear.
Or think about summer. It starts out slow and heavy. You can almost feel the heat. And then out of nowhere,
A huge thunderstorm erupts. The music just becomes chaotic and frantic.
that's him painting with sound. He does the same thing in winter. You hear these sharp plucking notes.
Like ice cracking.
Exactly. Or the fast shivering passages that sounds like someone trembling in the cold. It's why that music still feels so vivid and powerful 300 years later.
We think of him as a composer, but in his own time, he was maybe even more famous as a performer.
Oh, absolutely. He was a virtuoso, one of the best violinists in the world.
He was known for playing things that other musicians just couldn't. Super fast, super high notes.
And he toured all over Europe. His concerts were major events. He used his own compositions to show off new techniques for the violin, pushing the instrument to its limits.
He basically made the violin the star of the orchestra.
He did.
Yeah.
But he wasn't just a performer. He was also a major opera composer.
Right. He claimed he wrote almost 100 of them.
We have about 50 that survived. But he wasn't just writing the music. He was a businessman, an impresario,
Which is like a producer.
a producer, a manager, everything. He was hiring the singers, managing the budget, preparing the sets. He was controlling the entire production from start to finish.
So he's an artist, a performer, and an entrepreneur.
A totally modern musician in that sense. And on top of all that, he was still writing sacred music, like his famous Gloria. The sheer amount of work he produced is just staggering.
And all this work made him incredibly famous and wealthy. His music was published and sold everywhere, even in the Americas. He played for the Pope, for emperors,
He was a true international celebrity at his peak.
which makes his downfall so much more shocking.
It's a tragic story.
Hmm.
As he got older, in the 1730s, musical tastes started to change.
The dramatic Baroque style he perfected was suddenly old news.
It felt too heavy, too complicated. Audiences wanted something simpler, lighter. His music just went out of fashion in Venice.
So what did he do?
He made a last, desperate gamble. In 1740, she left Venice and moved to Vienna. He was hoping to get a job with the emperor, Charles VI.
But his timing was just awful.
Catastrophic.
Yeah,
The emperor died just a short time after Vivaldi arrived.
leaving him completely stranded.
Stranded in a foreign city with no money, no powerful patron, and no way to get work.
It's heartbreaking. This genius who had performed for royalty dies completely broke.
On July 28, 1741, he was so poor that he was given the simplest possible funeral and buried in a common grave. No marker, nothing.
And then he's just forgotten for almost 2 centuries.
Completely erased. His music sat in dusty archives until the 1920s.
The great
A
rediscovery.
huge collection of his handwritten manuscripts, hundreds of pieces nobody had heard, was found at a boarding school in Italy.
And when musicologists started looking at this stuff, they realized what had been lost.
It was a bombshell. This incredible, energetic, brilliant music was performed again, and Vivaldi was finally put back in his rightful place right alongside giants like Bach and Handel.
So his legacy is about so much more than just the Four Seasons.
It's about how he changed the very structure of music. He gave us the modern concerto, he showed back how to build drama, and he proved music could tell powerful, vivid stories.
I think his story shows you that genius isn't always enough. Taste changes, fortunes turn. But incredible art can always find its way back. He proved that music can be technically brilliant and at the same time something everyone can enjoy.
Keep listening for the stories hidden in the notes. Good luck with your studies.